Hello and welcome to Boomer 11 Live. And now we are continuing on our series of coverage when it comes to the FIFA World Cup 2022. And we start with good news for Messi and Co. Or Messi Co. as they were called yesterday. Throughout the internet, Mexico have won 2-0 against Mexico. You wouldn't say, even though it became thoroughly dominant towards the end. Initially, there were a lot of hiccups, but Messi and Co pulled it through. Argentinian fans will get a lot of good news from that 2-0 victory. It means that they aren't out of the World Cup. In fact, they're right now second in place with a better goal difference as well, with 2 goals ahead of Saudi Arabia at the third place. We will be at the second place, rather. We will be talking about that match that happened as well. Messi scoring his eighth World Cup goal and tying it with Ronaldo, another leaf or another feather in their rivalry, you would say. And then, of course, we're going to be talking about some of the matches that are going to happen today. Some really interesting matches coming up. We are going to be seeing Japan after their victory facing off against Costa Rica, where they'll be hoping to continue that run of form. And then Belgium face off against Morocco. And finally, not finally, rather, we have Croatia and Canada, two teams who you expect will be coming up, very much trying to get up, top each other. And then the big clash, 12:30 here in India at local time, 12:30 a.m. Spain versus Germany. Probably one of the most awaited matches in this year's World Cup. I have with me able to start off with Argentina. Argentina have won that match 2-0, and which means by goal difference, which is going to come into place, come into picture in this group, they are at a comfortable position, you would say, with 2 goals ahead of Saudi Arabia, who's also who's at a negative 1 goal difference, while Argentina have a positive one. On the other hand, they aren't far away from Poland as well in terms of the table, because Poland have only gotten 4 points.
Yeah, I mean, firstly, it's a huge result for Argentina because of how they started up the tournament. I wouldn't go in detail as of now with what happened in the game. If I just talk about the game, Argentina will be just pleased with the result rather than what happened in the game or through the course of the game, what had taken place. Because there were a lot of instances where you felt like Argentina is going to let go of another World Cup. They were this close of letting go of another World Cup because that's how they started off. Mexico were well
Yeah.
prepared. They had to maintain a low block, and as I mentioned, Mexico would press them, but it would press them in triggers, in occasions. They had to plan their presses to perfection, something which they were doing quite well in the first half. They went with 5-3-2, a mid block to start off with the Mexican team, and for Argentinian team, they had issues. They had issues throughout that first half. It was just a huge, I would say, it was a huge disappointment for Scaloni, at least in the first half, because they did not really turn up in the first half because they looked absolutely clueless. It looked like a team who did not have that unbeaten run. It looked like a team who was very underconfident, and you can say that because after that Saudi defeat, the team did get very demoralized to an extent because they did not see that coming. So everything was at stake in this game. It was like they were playing a game of their lives. Hence, you saw the reaction post the match. Hence, you saw the reaction after every goal as well. For Argentina themselves, for them, this game was as big as any knockout game. And for Argentina, every game from here on is a knockout game as well. So, yeah, you saw the reaction. All in all, they'll be very pleased with that result which took place.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Let's get into some of the nitty gritties then, Abel. Let's start with the overall stats from the game yesterday. 2 goals, obviously, for Argentina, as we spoke about it. But the XG, that's the expected goals rate, remained the same at zero point 0.3 each. 5 shots for Argentina, of which 2 were on target. 4 shots for Mexico, out of which 1 was on target. Possession wise, Argentina are, you would say, thoroughly ahead with 58 percentage. So overall, you would say that the game was not pretty far from, in terms of these stats. But I think where the game really changed is if you look at the amount of shots in the box for both Mexico and Argentina. Argentina has gotten 2 shots, out of which 1 was a goal, while Mexico has just gotten 1 shot. And then if you look at the next shot that was taken, that is those, white circles. on the white background, if you look at the shots that were taken, you realize that the XG of these shots were pretty low. And that's the reason why Argentina were the better, were the better team, because they created the better chance.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially in terms of the way how Argentina were progressing up front, and in terms of the way how Argentina were blocked in the first half. That's the reason you see minimal number of shots. Mexican defense were all over them. Argentina were losing the balls in the midfield, especially the midfield of Rodrigo De Paul and Guerrero Rodriguez weren't effective. They were just nowhere to be seen in the first half. I would say Rodrigo De Paul did get better time. I'll just talk about him in detail going ahead in the live, but to be very honest, Argentina did not really look like a team who could go out there and get those results, because, especially if you talk on that first half, there were no players who could make those runs in behind, and whatever they were trying to play through the wings, the Mexican team was ready to press them and regain the ball, and especially through the middle of the park with Guerrero Rodriguez, who was trying to drop in between. There was mainly like a three at the back system, especially in the attacking progression for Argentina, because with Guerrero Rodriguez, his advanced playmaking skills are very minimalistic, because you don't get a lot from Guerrero Rodriguez, because of that's a limitation which Guerrero Rodriguez has got as well. But with Guerrero Rodriguez, one thing which you can get is physicality in between the park, but not a lot of creativity. He might not progress the ball a lot more in. And Rodrigo De Paul, who is supposed to press a lot more, handle the ball a lot more, play box to box, he was unable to do that through that first half. So which meant Argentina had to rely on their Argentina had to rely on Messi. Messi had to drop a lot more. Messi was the reception point in the midfield and in attacking progression as well. And if you look at the course of the game, I would say Lautaro Martinez was not even involved completely. He was totally taken away from that game.
Yeah.
It's also because if when you have Messi and Di Maria in that team, you need a striker who could really go at the defenders, and not a striker who could drop in and hold the ball, because that's something which Messi, Di Maria will do it for you. And if you have three players who are going to do the same thing for you, then that creates a huge clog in your attacking progression. That creates a huge problem when it comes to playing direct passes, penetrating through the defense. So I personally think these are areas which Argentina will not be pleased about. These are areas which Argentina will have to really work. And and in the second half, you saw a different Argentina turn up. In second half, firstly, the substitutions were spot on to take off someone like a Guerrero Rodriguez, understanding that the game was turning towards that end, bringing someone like a Palacios, bringing Enzo Fernandez. Enzo Fernandez was a gem on the field yesterday. The way in which
Yeah.
he came in, he changed the course, the momentum. I'm not talking about his goal, leave behind his goal, but just in terms of the midfield presence, his physicality, his technique, his ability, everything was just spot on yesterday. And I mean, I'm a huge fan of Enzo Fernandez, and the way he was able to control, he's just 21 years old, a young player with fresh legs. He was able to come and make an impact as soon as he came into the park, and you saw that. But even Rodrigo De Paul in the second half was a different beast altogether. He came in, he made his presence felt. He was pressing at the defender. He was winning those tactical fouls time and time again, which meant that Mexico couldn't break them on the counter. It's so important to win those tactical fouls and show your physicality in the middle of the park, which Rodrigo De Paul does very good for Argentina. And these are things which is inherent in Rodrigo De Paul, and these are traits which you actually need in a midfielder like Rodrigo De Paul. Though he had a very bad first half, as the game got going, he got better and better. He kept running. He gave it his all. And also for Messi, Messi was doing a lot of defensive work as well yesterday, which is so unlike Messi to do. A lot of these players yesterday in the second half were able to really put their body on the line and actually put up a performance. And if you have to talk about Lisandro Martinez, he did not have the best of first halves, but come the second half, Otamendi and Lisandro Martinez had a terrific game. You have to, as much as credit you give for Messi and Enzo Fernandez, I think you should give the credit to Rodrigo De Paul and also Lisandro Martinez. Especially Lisandro Martinez kept another clean sheet, 100% pass accuracy, terrific on the ball. I think close to 67 touches. He was progressing with the ball as well. That's the ability which Lisandro Martinez has got. As we keep telling, Lisandro Martinez's ball playing ability is top notch. Even when the strikers were trying to press at him, he looked so comfortable. He knew that he is a better ball player than them. So that's the kind of trust you have in the backline when you have someone like a Lisandro Martinez in there, and a huge result for Argentina.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Well, as you mentioned, let's talk about. I mean, you spoke about Lautaro Martinez, right? He was the first player that was substituted yesterday right before the Messi goal. He was substituted, I think, and he was substituted for Julian Alvarez, a player that you know very well, plays for Man City. Do you reckon that shift right there? Because there was a stat, that I was checking out, and when I saw that stat, it was right after the first half, and we will bring it up on the screen very soon. But if you look at that stat, you would realize that Lautaro Martinez was even behind Messi in terms of the ball progression in that first half. And what do you reckon is different, or what do you reckon went for, that why do you think Scaloni went for that substitution? Do you reckon it was a big fact that, Julian Alvarez is a much better, what do you say, goal threat, or he's ready to take up the ball a lot further up the pitch than someone like Lautaro Martinez?
As I mentioned, it was just a tactical call to have a runner who makes in behind runs, because with Lautaro Martinez in the team alongside Messi, you were unable to break the defense. So these are things I think which they had to keep in mind, especially in a game like this. They had to make sure that those runs were made. They had to progress it further up in the pitch, and someone who could really be up there on the pitch, especially in the final third when you have Messi and Di Maria in the team. You need a runner to make those in behind runs, quick in behind runs, which will split open the defense and the ball can penetrate through. Which is something which was something which was missing throughout the course of the first half. And when Julian Alvarez came in, you would not see that a lot, but at least it was better than which was what Lautaro Martinez was doing. And Julian Alvarez is quick. He can also break on the counter, and it did work. Julian Alvarez was brought in just before the goal which was scored, and after the goal, Argentina tried to play in a slightly lower block. They wanted to play on the counter. They did not maintain a high line of defense. And from there on, what Julian Alvarez had to do was to make those runs, break in the counter. There were a couple of opportunities where he came very close to scoring as well. So this is what the stat you were talking about. How Lautaro Martinez reception points are way deeper,
Yeah.
and with what you get with
I
Lautaro
mean, if you
Martinez
look at
is
where Messi is, or you look at where Angel Di Maria is, you see they're much further up the pitch, and you expect someone like a Lautaro Martinez, who's your main goal threat, to be even higher up the pitch, right? When he's getting those receptions.
absolutely. So this is where I personally felt Lautaro Martinez had to be subbed off for this very reason, especially when they're playing against teams who maintain a low block. You need players who make those in behind runs to break open the defense. Messi will not do it for you. Messi in the team is going to be holding the ball and creating the chances for you, because Messi will pin the ball in. That's why someone like an Acuna or someone like a Lautaro Martinez have to do it. I mean, Alex McAllister, he's not going to make those in behind runs as much as your striker will. Your striker's job is to do that time and time again, because you got a Messi right behind the striker, and you got a Di Maria also who will play a similar role as Messi to do it. And Di Maria will push up further up on the right hand side, but you will need cover alongside Montiel as well. He will link up with Montiel, but Montiel had a very horrific game once again. He was not threatening enough on the right hand side, especially in attacking progression. Something which against Scaloni will have to consider, because Molina did not have a good game last time, and Montiel did not have a good game. Acuna had a decent game in terms of his defensive acumen. He was putting in a shift. He was covering a lot of ground, but his attacking prowess is something which was lacking yesterday. I don't know what and why was the reason why he was getting pressed time and time again when he was receiving the ball on the left hand side. Maybe against a team like Poland, who will not maintain as low block as a Mexico will, maybe he'll be able to have a better game. And once again, Julian Alvarez was brought in for
But I
this
mean,
very
even
reason
that's
that
what we spoke about. That's what we spoke about Mexico as well, right? I mean, you did say that Mexico will not have such a low block, but what we did see with Mexico is the fact that, is it turning out to be like a cookie cutter formula to go against Argentina? The kind of, because this is the same, almost the same, system that we saw that Saudi Arabia employed, right? High pressing,
no, I don't think
low
Saudi
block.
Arabia deployed a low block against Argentina. Saudi Arabia maintained a high line
Oh,
of defense.
actually, yeah,
That's why you
they
saw
did have a higher up play, but
high
they did
line
have a
of
higher up.
defense.
You're right, correct.
Yeah.
But
After the goal,
let's talk
they
about the
went
pressure.
for a low block. Yeah, but we did expect Mexico to go in with the same setup, because that's what their strength has been. Tata Martinez, he's not been receiving a lot of credit for whatever he's been doing back in Argentina, back in Mexico, because he's an Argentinian coach. Of course, he's coached his very team, Argentinian team, to
Yeah,
two Copa America finals as well. He's extremely pragmatic in terms of his system. He believes in a defensive system where he wants his attackers to break on the counter, wait for those opportunities, then grab on it. But what happened in yesterday's match was just that, Mexico were unable to break through. They did not have any. At no point did they ever feel like they were going to create a chance. And they've scored 0 goals in this entire tournament. And if you look at the teams from CONCACAF, they've only scored 1 goal. They've already conceded 11 goals in this tournament. So not a great start for any team from CONCACAF, and something which a lot of these teams have been, broken away with. They've all been trying to maintain a low block. I thought Canada was very unlucky, and USA also was pretty unlucky. But other than that, the other couple of teams haven't really turned up into the tournament. And Costa Rica had an awful game. I think Costa Rica contributed majority of those 11 goals which are conceded because of the 7-0 defeat to Spain. But yeah, but now going back to what it is, I personally think now, for Argentina, they'll have to look into maybe try to bring in someone like an Enzo Fernandez to start the game against Poland, because he's a little more advanced, he's a little more comfortable on the ball compared to a Guido Rodriguez. And when he's alongside the Rodrigo De Paul, I think the partnership is much better. It's much more solid. You can at least control the midfield. And losing the possession of the ball right in the middle of the park can be pretty dangerous against quality teams like Poland, against better European teams as you progress further ahead into the tournament. And Argentina just got one win, but then it is something which I'll keep telling. It had to take Messi's magic to bring Argentina through to that. You have to say,
Yeah.
that goal for Messi meant everything. I've seen Messi celebrate some of the biggest goals, but I've never seen him this emotional after a goal after a very long
Yeah,
time.
yeah. You could,
I remember
yeah.
I remember the Paris Saint Germain versus Barcelona game where he was extremely emotional. That was the last time I've seen him this emotional after scoring a goal. But today but yesterday he was extremely emotional. His face was all turned red. He really wanted it there because there were a lot of
I mean,
questions.
you could see
Because
it in his
after
eyes,
Saudi
right?
game, the
With the
question was,
goal.
where is Messi? He did come on the score sheet, but in terms of the work rate he was putting in, that was not good enough for the Argentinian team. But he did turn up. 1 goal, 1 assist, and what a goal that was. It was sheer placement, nothing of short power, sheer class of the man which had to come into play. And come the big time, it had to be the biggest player of that team who had to step up to create that moment of magic, because there was nothing which was happening in that game. It had to take a moment of magic to bring Argentina into the game, bring Argentina back into the World Cup, and it had to be him again.
as we're speaking about this, right? Let's look at the XG progression throughohout the match, and even while you pull up the stat, if you guys can see right here on this graph, you'll realize that Mexico, which is in the blue, is the blue line. On the other hand, Argentina is the red line, and you'll see that Argentina was behind in goal. I mean, XG for quite some time, especially if you look at the first half. You see how much bigger that gap is, that gulf is between the two teams. And only at the 64th minute, when that first goal arrives from Argentina, is when that gulf starts, narrowing. And then finally, Enzo Fernandez ended it and equalized, you would say that goal difference, or came very close to equalizing that goal difference. So that's how important that Messi goal was, wasn't it? Because otherwise, it looked like Mexico were going to run away with it once again. And they were the tactically superior team for quite some time. It took Messi's brilliance to really turn tables.
Yeah, I mean, it had to take Messi's magic once again, because I told you, right? What was happening through the course of that game was nothing but no chances at all was being able to create it by both the teams. And especially for Argentina, they were losing possession of the ball. They were unable to get into the final third. They were maintaining a low block. They were losing the ball, especially in the final third, time and time again, because they were getting pressed on the right hand side. Every time Di Maria was having the ball on the flank, there were three people on Di Maria. There were three people on Messi, so they had to shift the flanks from the right to left, left to right, because there were three people the moment they got near to the final third. And that did not help vertical passes to be played. Any vertical passes which was played by the Argentinian team, it was blocked by the Mexican low block. Trying to press in triggers. They were not pressing throughout the course like what you saw in Saudi Arabia, but they were pressing in triggers, which was really effective for Mexico's defensive uh, in Mexico's defensive work rate and regaining the ball and trying to break in counter. Where again Mexico was losing the ball once again. There were small moments in the game where Irving Lozano came very close to the goal and he lost the ball again in the final third. So when it comes to Mexico's creativity, they're below par for sure. But for Argentina, what was happening was they were unable to play vertical passes because of Mexican players trying to press on them trying to at least be at least put three players on a Messi or a Di Maria, which meant that there was no creativity from Argentina in the final third. Both and Messi plays as a number 10 for this team, and Messi could not penetrate the ball in. The playmaking skills were totally off. Lautaro Martinez were not making any run, and even with Acuna and Montiel, they were not unable to get into the. They were unable to create width on the right or left hand side, which really kept the game very very slow, which kept the game
Yeah.
completely dead through the course of the first half. But in the second half, after that first goal, which again was a moment of brilliance for Messi to get in there, to place it, that really opened up the game for Argentina. Then they were able to maintain a shape. They were much more calmer after that. Then Enzo Fernandez goal. That was a peach once again. He cut in and pinned it right on the top right corner. And it had to take two moment of brilliance to beat one of the best keepers of World Cup, Ochoa. And it had to
Of
be one of the
course.
it
Of
had to be
course. Yeah.
two great goals on this World Cup so far to beat him, because usually when it comes to decent goals, he's pretty good at that shot stopping skills.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like, Argentina did trouble Ottawa as well, because the two shots that were on target for Argentina were the two goals. They took five shots in total, but three of them missed. Only two of them that hit the target went in anyway. So you would somehow say that Ochoa was. I won't say that it was Ochoa's fault at all, because as you mentioned, it was just stellar goals. You can't do much as a goalkeeper unless you have two goalkeepers in the net. But because you only have one Ochoa, even an Ochoa can't stop those kind of golazos, as you would call them. But it was a match which lacked a lot of creativity. It was not an end to end match, as you would say, because defenses were on top for both the teams. You would say generally.
Yeah, so I think we have lost Jaren because of a certain power outage, and yeah, we're talking about the Argentinian game. It is something which a lot of teams will take a lot of for Argentina themselves. They will feel a lot more confident going into the next stages of the tournament if they have. Then now the job in hand for them is to defeat Poland and to move further in, and also look at the possibilities as well. Now going into round of 16, they might possibly face Australia or Denmark if they finish number one, and if they finish number two, they'll play mostly France, which is not going to be an easy game. But the kind of form France has been showing through the course of this tournament, it's just simply amazing. And that's something which Argentina will be very wary of at this point. And Argentina will be knowing that it's not going to be easy to come up against come up against a very strong French team. Because what you get with the French team is also that they've been in good form. They've gelled together pretty well. So Argentina will have to keep these things in mind, especially coming up against some quality teams through the course of this tournament. Now going ahead, but for Argentina, though there are positives, equally there are negatives as well. For Scaloni, he'll be looking at more of his attacking threats going ahead in the tournament. He'll need some players to make those attacking runs, especially coming up against some big European teams. You saw that in the game against when if I remember in Finalissima as well, there were occasions where uh, where the Italian defense was split open by the Argentinians. So they would need that to be coming back time and time again. That's the kind of play which Argentina will like to keep on doing. They'd want to split open the defense a lot more, be more direct in terms of their ball playing. They'll have to make those in behind runs to support Messi, or else that team is going to be extremely reliant on Messi to create these moments of magic time and time again, which is not going to happen, which will lead to a catastrophic end for the Argentinian team. Though Argentina can be very happy about the win, but the job is half done.
I mean, it does still seem like the kind of story that we are used to seeing time and time again, isn't it? Where Messi has to, when an Argentinian team comes to the World Cup, it's Messi who is stepping up most often than not. I mean, let's hope this tide does change for Argentina in the course of few matches, because sometimes you need wins like this, isn't it, Abel? Where you have that moment of magic where the team comes together, where they start believing that they can win. Because Argentina did seem a lot nervy initially, and they felt that goal was probably needed for all of them to come together. Because right after that goal came in, you saw Argentina playing like themselves, right?
Yeah,
And in fact, I would
you're
say
right.
10
They're
minutes before
responding
that
that
goal,
well.
yeah, when 10 minutes before that goal, you started seeing Argentina start to play a little more, gel a lot more. Mexico were really being pushed into the final third. And then the goal comes, and then Argentina becomes even more dominant. So maybe that's a sign of things to come.
Absolutely, and I think that is a right point by you, especially that first goal really gave Argentina a lot of confidence. And now going ahead into the tournament like this, you will need moments like this to really gel together a team. And I think Argentina will be supremely happy in terms of what they were able to put out in the park to keep a clean sheet, not let go of any goals, and to get 3 points under the belt. Ultimately, what matters is the win. No matter how you are able to get it, if you're able to pull through results in cup tournaments, you will progress further ahead into the tournament. And that's why I keep telling you, not the it's not always the most beautiful team who plays football goes to win the World Cup or goes to win major tournaments. Especially in cup tournaments, you will need to get those results. You'll need to churn out those results, especially in crucial moments. And then you'll need to manage the game pretty well as well, which I thought Argentina managed the game pretty well. After the first goal, they were much more composed, they were much more confident. They looked like the Argentina who are playing football in the last 2 years. That's why they were able to keep an unbeaten run. Regardless of what it is, to maintain 35 unbeaten, to go at a streak of 36 unbeaten games, it's not easy. So Argentina has got the capability. These are the same set of players who have done it. And now I think Argentina will be a lot more confident now going ahead into this tournament. And as we saw with Messi as well, we have made our debut in the tournament. He didn't mention that we have arrived in the tournament in this game, and he's right in mentioning that. The last game did not look like themselves, though it was their first game. But as a team, they did arrive into the tournament in the second half against Mexico.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. As you mentioned, Argentina have arrived. Let's hope they stay where they are and not drop down anymore. But let's move on to the matches that we have today. I think in just few minutes we're gonna have the first match, that is Japan versus Costa Rica. Japan, having won against Germany 2-1, are now sitting on 3 points table. And if they win today, they really will be putting a foot into the next round, isn't it? Costa Rica, on the other hand, had a demolition run where Spain ran through them. They did not. At one point in time, as we spoke time and time again, it looked like there were no Costa Rican players playing that match. It just looked like it was Spain. It was a practice session for Spain, and it was a camp of sorts, a training camp of sorts. But obviously, today's match, Costa Rica would hope to put that behind, face a strong Japanese team, especially a tactically strong Japanese team, because we saw what their manager is really a clever one, isn't it, as you would say, and he leads this team forward tactically, very astute. Now, today's match, talk me through how important it is for not only these two teams, but also for Germany, who's going to play Spain later on today.
I think, yeah, we will talk about Germany versus Spain, of course, in depth. But talk about Costa Rica. If they have to stay alive in tournament by any sniff, they'll have to get a result today, and they'll have to win. In terms of goal difference, in terms of everything, they have been demolished. They did not even turn up for the game. That was the worst part. If you look at the entirety of the tournament, uh, that game against Spain, they will be extremely demoralized. I thought at least Keylor Navas will have some bit of moments of magic in that game, but he did not even turn up. He was the go-to man even in that game. But I personally think against a team like Japan, the way they were pressing in the second half against Germany, they're going to find once again extremely difficult. But because what Japan were able to do in that game against Germany was to outclass Germany tactically. And with Japan, that's what you get. They might not be a team who's going to be physically very strong. They might not beat you physically in terms of their play over 90 minutes. They rely on substitutes to come and change it, because I've noticed with the Japanese team over the years, even the last World Cup, they tend to run out of energy by the 60th minute, 65th minute. So if they are able to get a goal before 65, 66 minute, that's well and good. But or else then they'll have to rely on the substitutes to come and make a difference. Like what you saw in the last game, it had to be Doan and also Ritsu to come in and make those differences. And talking again about Kamada, he's a fantastic player. I think it's going to be once again a focal point in terms of the press, which Japan will try to deploy against this Costa Rican team. And Japan will be highly confident trying to go up against the Costa Rican team, understanding Costa Rican team is extremely underconfident, and also their defensive line was split open in the last game. So they know they'll have to play some direct passes, split open the defense, and try to have a dominant performance and qualify and secure a place in the last 16.
Yeah, I mean, for Costa Rica, it was like the Spanish team were like hot knife through butter, as you would say. They kept doing it time and time again, effortlessly. I think even possession stats, 15% was what Costa Rica had, and that was just poor on their part. You don't expect this kind of a comprehensive victory, over a World Cup team. Even though it is Spain against Costa Rica, you would say it was David against Goliath, but still, that level of dominance is something that is unheard of. Who's going to be their key player, Abel, for Costa Rica? You already mentioned Kelly Navas, but let's talk about some of the outfield players, right? I mean, they will have to step up because how much can a goalkeeper do at the end of the day? I mean, yes, we can argue that he did not have a best of days, but you have to argue that a goalkeeper is if not 100%, but at least a 75% as good as their defense is.
Yes, you can say goalkeeper is only as good as a defensive line, and your defensive line have to put in a shift. But then, if I have to be very honest with you, with Costa Rican team, they looked extremely underconfident to even to have possession of the ball. They were beaten by skill more than anything else. They were beaten by physicality. They were beaten by technique of the Spanish team. So there are going to be various glares at what Costa Rica can possibly offer in this World Cup, and there were questions already as to is Costa Rica even a deserving team to play in the World Cup, because you don't see a team getting battered like that in the first game of the World Cup, and when this World Cup especially has been a World Cup where teams have really turned up, and teams have turned up to really give it a fight, especially the lower ranked teams. We keep talking about it, how the lower ranked teams have really come up as teams who really want to give it a fight against the bigger teams, and that's once again been a letdown. And today, especially, I think, especially the backline, someone like a Duarte will have a huge role to play, and Campbell up front. He'll have to really put in a huge work, especially in terms of him pressing the Japanese backline, and also pressing the midfield, and the two midfielder in Taheda and Borja. They have to really put in a good work rate in terms of controlling the ball, not letting go of the ball, which something which we saw in that first game. They were letting go of the ball time and time again, which really put them in pressure, which I thought was one of the major reasons why they lost the game. And it is so important in this game, especially for them to take control in the midfield. So Costa Rica midfield will be the team which will have extreme amount of spotlight. And when it comes to the Japanese team, once again, it's going to be Doan who's starting again, and Kamada. Kamada has had a decent game last time around as well. And also the wing backs and Nagatomo, and also Itkura and Yamane. The backline was impressive against Germany. Though they gave Germany so many chances, if Germany would have capitalized at least three of those chances, Japan wouldn't even have come close. So they would want to tighten that backline, especially with Yoshida and Itkura. They would want to be more compact, not let those runners to run in behind. I know there are going to be opportunities where they will be beaten. They will be penetrated, but then maintain compactness, not to lose shape, which I thought Japan was doing through the course of that first half against Germany. They kept losing possession, and they kept losing possession, and they kept losing possession, and they kept Yeah, guys, we're back again. We were facing some technical difficulty through the course of the stream, so we're back. We're back to talk about it. I know we did miss slightly on certain aspects, but yeah, nonetheless, we're back, and we are connected to talk again. So yeah, as we did mention about certain games which we were going to analyze. We will be talking about the Morocco versus Belgium game. I think it is a huge game in terms of what it is yet to offer for both the teams. If you look at the Moroccan team, they did put up a good solid performance against a strong Croatian team. They did not let go of any ball. Croatian team were the runners up of the last World Cup, and of course, in terms of talent, in terms of midfield compactness, everything, Croatian team were highly skilled. But to keep a balance in that first game and not keep a clean sheet against a strong Croatian team, you'll have to give it to the Moroccan team, and they are coming up against a Belgian team who looked extremely weak, especially against Canada. There were occasions where they could have Belgium team could have considered 3 to 4 goals. There were 21 shots which were taken by the Canadian team, and it was scored to us brilliance as well, which kept the Belgium team in check. But now, talking about today's game, I personally think it is going to be an important game for Belgium, especially in terms of statement made by Kevin De Bruyne before the match. I thought that was extremely unnecessary. You have to understand that for a team who has come to the World Cup to make such statements, to really show that they're not really happy with what is happening. They understand their team is old. Everything is agreed. These are facts. But to play it out in a way it did, I don't think it's the right way to go ahead, especially in a tournament like the World Cup. To come into a tournament like World Cup and to make such statements, especially when your team just won a game, which really shows they're extremely underconfident as a team, and they could really run out of gas any moment, and they could run out of gas at any point of stage as well. So that's what I think, especially about the statement made by Kevin De Bruyne. And also talking about the Belgium team, they are faced with certain weakness, especially in the back line. uh, and the back line is totally inexistent. There were times when Canadian defense was able to press, especially like Sir Jonathan David, and also Alfonso Davis were able to really create those chances. They were able to cut into the box time and time again with ease. And their ball progression, them able to penetrate through the back line, is something which the Belgium team will be understanding that that's a huge weakness for them. And this also going to do with the age, another kind of age they have in the back line. That it's an aging defense, and yeah, rightly mentioned by Carlo as well. I think we have a very message from Carlo Fernandez. Carlo says real disappointment. KDB. I mean, yeah. I mean, someone of KDB stature, who's an elite player in the world, to make such statements, it's a little bit ridiculous in my opinion, and he shouldn't have made such statements as well. Yeah,
Yeah,
welcome
sorry
back.
to have left you hanging there, Abel. I had a few network issues, but I mean, now that we are on the topic, as I was hearing you speak in the background, yeah, I can understand from where Kevin De Bruyne is coming from. There might be certain frustration when it comes to this team because this is you would say, the dusk of a golden generation. They are coming to the twilight of their careers, and most of them are slowing down, but you don't say this kind of thing in the middle of a World Cup, right? You probably say that after the campaign is over, or if the disappointment has finally set in, not in the middle of the campaign, because that hurts the morale of the whole team, and it also means that you yourself are letting things go, and it's all then it leads to an attitude problem, you would say. Not in the sense that it is it's a negative attitude, right? To have that you are at any disadvantage in comparison to the other team, and you can't do anything about it. That's what came across from Kevin De Bruyne and what he said.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you have to say, as I mentioned earlier itself, there are occasions where you can make such statement, but there are occasions also where you have to consider certain things which are around it. What could it really do to the morale of the team? What do you really feel in the camp that you are not here to even win the World Cup? I don't know if that was a statement which was made for fun. Maybe it could be. I think we are just driving it out
Yeah.
of proportion as well sometimes. Uh, but to be very fair, Belgium doesn't look like a team who are here to even compete. The last game, they were able to get 1 goal. Very lucky to manage the game after that. It could have well been a 4-1 defeat for them, because Belgium, with Canadian team, the young Canadian team was making the inroads time and time again, time and time again. They show they belong here. as the Canadian manager said that we belong here, guys. Now let's go and F the Croatian team. So I love that confidence from the Canadian manager, and it's great. It's great to have the kind of confidence. And I personally think now shifting to the next game tonight today, Croatia versus Canada. That's going to be a mouth-watering clash for a lot of people to watch, and especially for me. I'm looking forward for that game because I am backing the Canadian boys to make it, and I really hope they make it out of the group. I did predict at the start of the World Cup. I said Canada is going to be the team who's going to make it out of the group ahead of Belgium. I don't know if that's going to happen because if Croatia lose today, they are going to put in the spot of bother. But I really hope Morocco and Canada makes it out of this group because they are. This is a different group, and if Morocco and Canada makes it out of this group, it's going to be exciting to see. I'm going to put the fantasy lineup for today's game for Canada
Yeah.
versus Croatia, and it's a very good it's a exciting bunch to choose from. If you look at the back line, you can go in with Livkovic, Lovren, Sosa, Davies. So with Davies, I think the issue in fantasy is that you play Davies in a position what he's tend to be lined up in the club football. But for the Canadian team, he plays as a left winger and not as a defender. So
Hmm.
you should have Davis in your team as an attacker, but you can position him. You can have him in your team, but you have to choose him from the defensive section because it is what it is. He plays as an attacker for the Canadian team and the left back for the Bayern
Yeah.
Munich team wherever he plays. So have him in your team, and he's going to give you goals and also maybe defensive work rate as well. He's an elite player. I know he missed a penalty in the last game, but expect him to come back very strong in this game and expect him to really put in a work. And especially in the forward line, we have gone with Aladdin and Perisic, and I would say gone with the Jonathan David as well. I think Jonathan David will get on the score sheet today. He looked very impressive in the last game, especially with those pressing movements which he had against the Belgium defensive line. And also, I expected them to press the Belgium defensive line because the Belgium defensive line is highly vulnerable when it comes to them on the ball because of the age factor, because of their movements, because of the slowness, especially in the reception. So that's something which I thought they capitalized pretty well. Same thing you can apply it for the Croatian team. And for Croatia, once again, the focal point is going to be around Modric and how he's going to control the entirety of the game.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough, Abel. I suppose this is pretty much it from the what do you say? This is pretty much it from the Croatia and Canada game. We spoke about the Belgium Morocco game as well. Let's talk about. I mean, so then pretty much we have everything covered, Abel. Are we going to speak about Spain and Germany right now, or are we going to come later on
I
tonight?
think we can come back and talk about later in the evening about Spain and Germany. We can have an in-depth analysis on that. I think the
Yeah.
match has already begun now between Japan and Costa Rica, so we will come back and talk about that game. But to talk about the fantasy lineup of Belgium versus Morocco, this is a lineup which you can go in with tonight's game. You have plethora of talent to choose in from, especially in the attacking. You have a Ziyech, you have a Eden Hazard, you have a Batshuayi. Once again, talking about Hakimi, he plays as a right winger for the Moroccan team and not as a defensive option. So this is another player who you should include in your team because he's an attacking threat, but you will have to choose him from a defensive section because that's what is primary position wherever he plays, other than his country. So he's a good option to keep, and De Bruyne is a must in your team because De Bruyne can create the moments of magic, and Mazroi is another right back option. He will be overlapping Hakimi. So these are two options who can create on the right hand side of the pitch. And I think you can go in with Vertonghen and Alderweireld as your defensive options in the backline, and Courtois is a must because if Courtois is in the mood, I don't think he's going to let go of any balls through him. And I'm expecting Belgium to win this because of the talent which Belgium has. Whatever you say, they're on the older side. These players can create the moment of magic which no other team would be able to do. They remained as number one team in the world, is at least in FIFA rankings, because of the talent pool they've got. I know the
Yeah.
defensive line is extremely weak at this point, but I still think they can still create that moment which a lot of so usually, yeah, absolutely. I rightly mentioned by Anthony there. To talk about Hazard. Hazard, I thought was really good in the last game. There were moments where he was really able to dribble past a couple of himself. He was trying to create those chances. He was trying to drop in slightly and make those in behind runs, getting into the box. I think Hazard looks a lot more fitter, looks a lot more confident in this Belgium setup. He really
Yeah,
wants
he
he really
does.
wants to show that
Yeah, I mean, I was just saying that he does. That's
Yeah, I'm back again. I think there was a slight, we've been facing slight connectivity issue. But yeah, talking about that, Anthony, once again, for Azar himself, he looked very good. And I think one silver lining for the Belgium team will be, someone like Michi Batshuayi. He's making those in behind runs. He's really filled up Lukaku's position pretty well in the last game. And also, I personally think to use Hazard in positions alongside his brother on the right hand side, it's going to be so vital for this Belgium team going ahead. And once again, it's going to be up to someone like a KDB to create moments of magic, create the play. If KDB has a good game, I don't think Moroccan team really stands a chance against this Belgium team because of KDB's experience, because of what KDB can bring into the pitch time and time again. KDB's presence in itself. I don't know why did KDB make that statement yesterday. I still am shocked. Why did KDB make the statement? I still think he's the best midfielder in the world at this point. I don't think there's anybody who's going to really even come close to KDB when it comes
I
to
mean,
his presence.
is that's where I felt people, it seemed like it was out of frustration and disappointment rather than anything else.
Yeah, I
And I think
personally
that's
think
where,
so as well. I
maybe
think it has to be the other way
it just
around.
reflects on that Belgium dugout right now, right, and how they are feeling, and that's my take about it, because and no one expected Belgium, and no one has written Belgium off. I have never come across any video where people are saying that Belgium is not going to do well in this World Cup. Yes, there are concerns I mean, but then every team has a certain set of concerns, right? And this Belgium team still is full of superstars, full of players who can create moments of magic, but it's just that the way that statement came out of, it was out of the blue, and that's where I think it reflects a lot, at least when it comes to maybe the dugout, and if not the dugout, about what Kevin De Bruyne is feeling with this team.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, especially when it comes to the mentality in which they went into this game with. They were highly underconfident. You saw it in the way they were receiving the ball. And even KDB, he had a decent second half, though. The Belgium team in the first half was taken aback with the press which was deployed by the Canadian team. But in second half, they looked a lot more comfortable. They looked a lot more calmer on the ball. They were able to create chances. It could have well been a 2-0 game as well. Belgium did get a couple of very good opportunity. Um, but at this point, they will really need their defense to stay intact. If their defensive line has a good game, then I don't think anybody can stop Belgium to go out of the group. I don't know how far they'll proceed out in the tournament. It won't be like 2018. In 2018, they were all in their prime, which helped them to play a semi-final. They were this close to making it to the World Cup final because they had one of the best tournaments in 2018, going on to defeat
Yeah,
Brazil. Then came up against a very strong French team. Even in that game, Belgium was a better team. Uh, and it was Umtiti's moment of brilliance which really put them out of the game, and Varane and Umtiti being extremely compact in the backline. But even in that game, I thought Belgium were the better team. I thought Belgium was the best team of the tournament. But it is what it is. Not the best team who plays the best football go on to win the tournament.
yeah,
In a World Cup, a team who plays scratchy is a team who often go on to win these tournaments like World Cups and cup competition because that's what it has always been. I mean, Germany in 2014 was an exception. Spain was okay, but I thought Germany was a better team. Even Holland was extremely good even in 2010 as well in terms of the kind of
yeah.
play they were having. But yeah, talking about the Belgium team, if their defensive line, if they can get the next generation of defenders, at least after this World Cup, who are young, who can really put themselves in the line now, looking for Oliver Vertonghen, all these players are what 35, 36 years old. Now looking at the next generation, can get some 20-year-olds into the team, then I think Belgium will really have a chance going ahead in the future.
Absolutely. Well, that's pretty much it from our end, and we've already had 15 minutes of the first match that we have today. Japan versus Costa Rica being played out. Thank you, people, so much for joining us. We hope the fantasy tips and the overall discussion, gave you some insights into today's matches and as well as yesterday's match between Argentina and Mexico, because that's something that football fans will not be forgetting. At least Messi fans will be forgetting for a long time to come. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much, guys, once again for joining. Thank you, Abel, and we'll be back later tonight with the updates of Germany. I mean, the update of matches that have happened today, and obviously then we have the Germany and Spain game, probably the most important match of the group. But yeah, until then, goodbye.
Yeah. I'm extremely excited for that game, and thank you guys for joining in. I know we did face some technical difficulties through it,
Yeah,
but it is what it is when you're doing through an online medium. You can expect it. But thank you for joining once again, and thank you for showering all the love. We'll be back. We'll be back in few hours time from now on. I think after the third match between Canada and Croatia, will be back. I'm looking forward for that game more than even Spain versus Germany, because I'm a huge fan of the Canadian team, and I really want Alfonso Davies to have a good tournament this time around. So bye bye, and have a good time, all of you.
Goodbye, guys. See you soon.